Hello, everyone. My name is Joe.
And I'm Johnny Dupe.
Welcome to the tester episode of Movie Changeup, where we repitch and reboot the movies we love and love to hate, but with a little added twist. Now, how this works, a few days ago, Johnny and I came up with a list of 10 movies and 10 rules. You can use one rule per movie, and you can't use a rule more than once. Johnny, what are those movies we came up with?
All right, so we picked some movies we love, and like you said, some that need to be changed up. So our first one we picked was Batman and Robin from 1997. And then we got Body Heat from 1981, the classic Breakfast Club from 1985, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid from 1969, A Christmas Carol, which the most famous version is probably 84, but there's a million stories of that. We got Demolition Man from 1993, Face Off from 97, Ferris Bueller's Day Off from 1986, Ocean's 11 from 2001, and Spaceballs from 1987.
All right, and then our 10 rules. We had to make one of them a horror movie. We had to change the gender of every single cast member in one. We had to turn one into a Pixar movie. We had to resurrect the career of one person. One of them has to be a Tyler Perry movie. We had to force a twist ending. We had to pitch a cameo where an original cast member returns. We had to cast a comedic actor or actress in a serious role. And our final one, Tommy Wiseau, has to appear in one. Now, if you don't know who Tommy Wiseau is, Tommy Wiseau wrote, directed, and starred in The Room, which is arguably the worst movie ever made. The acting is terrible, the directing is terrible, the writing is terrible, everything about it is trash. James Franco actually made a movie about the making of The Room, and in that movie you see just how crazy Tommy Wiseau is. He's just a pure mystery. No one really knows anything about him. He has a weird Eastern European accent that he claims to be from New Orleans. Johnny, do you have anything to add about Tommy Wiseau?
He's a great actor, and I feel like you were way too hard on him.
That's inaccurate. But I think the movie we're going to start with today is Batman and Robin. And I'll start with my pitch if that's all right. I just got to scroll up here. It's a long way. That's a lot of writing I did.
So let me add too. So the way this is going to work is Joe and I are both going to pitch our movies and then decide based on our pitches and our casting who wins. And we're going to try to defeat the other person in a point based system. So I'm going for the sweep.
It's a best of 10. Johnny's not going to win. He's not even going to win the first point because my pitch for my Batman and Robin is okay. Well, not okay. It's great. Or should I say Pixar's Batman and Robin?
Oh, God.
To open, we cut between a young Bruce Wayne watching his parents die in the alley and an older Bruce watching Robin's parents die in the circus. It's Pixar. We need that sad opening. Now, my reason for making Batman and Robin a Pixar movie was I wanted to take the cartoonishness of the live-action movie and put it in a format that would suit it better, an actual cartoon. There will be really cool visuals as the world is taken over with ice and plant life, because apparently the original version wanted the villains to work together, where one was Mr. Freeze, who wanted the world covered in ice, and the other was Poison Ivy, who wanted it covered in plants. Now, Mr. Freeze in the original was played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Poison Ivy was played by Uma Thurman. We had Batman played by George Clooney and Robin played by Chris O'Donnell, for those who are unaware. Now, our big emotional climax of my Pixar version, though, is Alfred dying of old age. But before that, Poison Ivy splits up Batman and Robin by making them think she loves them and not the other one with her poison kiss. Batman and Robin don't see eye to eye anymore, and all of their small problems have become big problems. When Alfred dies and Robin realizes he missed it, it causes him to come back to Bruce. Robin realizes there are things more important than a woman, and Alfred's death also inspires Barbara, Alfred's niece, who has been living with Bruce and Robin, to become Batgirl. The three of them take out Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy. The end.
All right. Interested to see your voice cast on that one.
Yeah. What's your pitch there, Johnny?
So mine essentially is a similar version of the movie, but mine's more pitch of the tone. First of all, no puns. That's a problem. So we're taking all the puns out of the movie. I don't need any more ice puns from Arnold. But basically, I'm gonna have to kind of get into my cast and my director here. So my director, I chose Lexi Alexander. For those who don't know,
Okay.
did Punisher Warzone. That's obviously a much more violent movie, but I would love a Batman movie in this tone. She has the fun action movie, very comic booky. That's kind of, we have the Batman movie coming out. So I want something a completely different tone, something fun, something a little mystical, especially with these characters in it. But other than that, it's a lot of the plot from the same or from the movie. But you have, if anyone hasn't seen the Mr. Freeze in the Batman animated series, the best animated version of Mr. Freeze, taking
It's the best
shots at
version of
you.
Mr. Freeze, the animated version.
Yeah, big time. And he has got a very sympathetic story. So I want to get into that a little. His wife is sick and he has to keep her basically frozen. And that's why he wants to turn Gotham and the world into a giant sheet of ice so he can live with his wife again and she can, be back to being with him. And then Poison Ivy obviously wants to cover the whole world in plants. So their plan doesn't really actually work together once, they actually go through with it, but they team up to stop Batman and Robin, and Batman and Robin are both completely intoxicated by Poison Ivy, and they kind of are fighting over who gets the girl because she has her, toxic. I don't even know what are her powers. She just like makes people
She
love
makes
them
plants
in that
grow,
movie.
and then she has a toxic kiss, and I guess people fall in love with her and fight over her.
So there we go. So they are completely intoxicated with her, and that's why Barbara Gordon in this movie, because in Batman and Robin, it was not actually Barbara Gordon. It was like Alfred's niece or something. But anyway, so Barbara Gordon has to become Batgirl and stop Poison Ivy, so her Batman and Robin can team up and stop Mr. Freeze in the end. So that's basically my pitch to the movie, and then we'll get into casting. So tell me your voice cast, because you gotta sell me on this Pixar Batman movie.
All right, so we need a good director, right? Every good movie has a good director.
Okay.
And who better than to direct a Pixar superhero movie than the guy that has directed one of the greatest superhero movies that was also a Pixar movie? Brad Bird, director of The Incredibles, is directing my Pixar Batman and Robin. Now, my Batman has been in a Pixar movie before, and he's been rumored to play Batman a few times. Originally, when they were talking of replacing Ben Affleck and instead of Robert Pattinson, this guy's name was floated around. I'm going with Armie Hammer, a guy raised by billionaires, a guy born to play Batman. He is going to be voicing my Batman. Now, for Robin, another Pixar, I don't want to say legend, he's been in one movie, but he knows his way around superheroes, and that's Spider-Man himself, Tom Holland from Onward, is voicing my Robin. Now, for Mr.
Spies in Disguise.
Now, for Mr. Freeze, you're shying away from the puns. I'm steering right into that skit, but I need someone who can deliver on those puns, someone who can make them actually funny. A voice from Toy Story 3, I'm going Keegan-Michael Key as Mr. Freeze. Now, for Poison Ivy, I was scrolling through IMDb, looking at all the women who have voiced Pixar characters, and there was one name that stood out. Sigourney Weaver is the voice of Poison Ivy. Now for Batgirl, not a lot of young women have been the voices in Pixar movies, but one name stood out that I thought maybe had a shot of being semi-decent, and I'm going Amy Poehler as the voice of Batgirl. And Alfred, okay. I was scrolling through, and I saw on Toy Story 3, he was the voice of, I think, some kind of porcupine, and his name stood out to me, and I'm like, oh, he would be a great Alfred. And that is former James Bond himself, Timothy Dalton, is the voice of my Alfred. Now, Bane. It wouldn't be a Pixar movie without John Ratzenberger. But John Ratzenberger is voicing my Bane. Because in that movie, all Bane says is his own name. And I would love nothing more than a behind the scenes of John Ratzenberger walking into the Pixar studio, being like, what do you have for me today, guys? And they just hand him a sheet of paper, and it just says, Bane. And he says, that's a character. Like, what do you have any lines? And they said, that's your line right there. Bane. He's in the studio for 5 minutes and he knocks out the entire movie. That's my cast, ending with John Ratzenberger as Bane.
All right. Okay, I'm interested. I forgot that Bane even has speaking lines. He basically just grunts.
He said, Bane.
But he would just do that, but sound like Mr. Ham from Toy Story and take you out of it.
You don't want Cliff Clavin to voice Bane?
Yeah, when I see Cliff Clayton, I think Bane. But it's animated, so I could see it happening. So like I said already, my director is Lexi Alexander, and that kind of gets me to my rule. So when a quick story about her, she told this story on the podcast, How Did This Get Made? But when Lexi Alexander was making Punisher Warzone, she didn't know anything about the characters, but the studio said, the villain Jigsaw, we have a guy that you have to, at least give an interview for, give an audition to. And this actor blew her out of the water. He knew everything about the Punisher. He's a big comic book fan. And it's not someone you'd expect. And she wanted to cast him as Jigsaw, the villain, but the studio said, no, we wanted to give him an audition, but you have to go with Dominic West. We're not actually giving that role. So that actor was Freddie Prinze Jr. So that is he has a career right now doing animated voices, but he doesn't have a movie career anymore. So I am resurrecting the career of Freddie Prinze Jr. as Batman in Batman and Robin to give him the long-awaited superhero role with Lexi Alexander that he was meant to play, in 2008 in Punisher Warzone. For Robin, I wanted to go someone younger, but has some experience, so I went with Asa Butterfield or Asa. Do you know how to pronounce his name? Because I don't. I think so. I really haven't seen him much since Hugo. I know he did Ender's Game. And
he's on Sex Education, which is a really good show on Netflix.
Okay, perfect. So even stronger reason he should be in my show is Robin, to teach the kids about sex ed. My Batgirl is someone that already, again, younger, about the same age as Asa Butterfield, and has already been a superhero that can do action. That's Chloe Grace Moretz. So she was a great hit girl, and now she's going to be Batgirl. My Mr. Freeze, when they were originally going to do another Schumacher Batman, it was going to have Scarecrow, and that was going to be played by Jeff Goldblum. So he is now my Mr. Freeze. I've given him a shot at being in Batman. Jeff Goldblum makes sense for the role because Mr. Freeze is a scientist. He is not a big, intimidating man like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I wanted to go with someone who actually looks like they could be a believable older guy, scientist, just trying to bring his wife back, and then he needs to get in a suit to have power. But Mr. Freeze is not supposed to look intimidating out of his freeze suit, and I feel like Jeff Goldblum has that look down. And my Poison Ivy, I'm going with probably my favorite working actress right now, is Sonoya Mizuno. She was Kyoko in Ex Machina. She was in the show Devs, if anyone watched that. If you haven't, you really should. And she's in Crazy Rich Asians. She has the look I want to go for Poison Ivy, and she can do action too, which she's proved. For my Alfred, I basically just picked an old English dude, and I went with Jonathan Pryce. Mainly because when Jonathan Pryce in the 90s, he should have been cast as Mr. Freeze in Batman and Robin because he had the look for it. So that's my cast, and I'm resurrecting Freddie Prinze Jr.'s movie career.
All right, I have one problem though. Freddie Prinze Jr. doesn't want his movie career to be resurrected. He is on record.
It's not his choice. It's my choice. I don't care.
Freddie Prinze Jr.
If it was Batman, he would.
Freddie Prinze Jr., husband of Sarah Michelle Gellar, has gone on record saying he likes voice acting because it allows him to live in LA and stay with his wife and kids. He doesn't want to fly off and go be in a Batman movie. He wants to stay at his house and be the voice of Kanan on Star Wars Rebels. That's all Freddie Prinze Jr. wants.
Yeah, well, Freddie Prinze is going to get the call of a lifetime. It's going to say, hey, I know you're happy being at home, married to Daphne, but Freddie, we need you to play Batman. And you have some history with Lexi. you two, you had an audition together. She really liked your audition. So boom, she's making a one-off Batman and Robin movie, and you're going to go in it. And he's going to be all down because he's a huge comic book fan, and it would be his one chance to play Batman.
No, he would turn the chance down.
Well, it's not up to him. It's up to me.
All right. All right, we can go in circles on this all day. What problems do you have with my flawless movie?
My biggest problem with it is, like I said, the best version of Mr. Freeze is already the animated show. So instead of just making another animated Mr. Freeze that wouldn't be as good, I would rather have a live action Mr. Freeze because we haven't seen a good version of that. I have my animated Mr. Freeze. That's my biggest problem with your pitch, honestly, because I think your cast is pretty good. I don't have any real problems with it. Oh, I forgot to mention, by the way, my Bane is played by someone who's great at only speaking one line, and that is Vin Diesel. You don't even need to pump him full of CGI. He already looks like Bane.
CGI?
Yeah, like you don't need CGI Bane. You just have basically real life Bane, and his voice is basically disintegrated already, and he just goes Bane, and it's just that. It's just him as Bane is my winning choice, and I completely forgot to mention that.
Vin Diesel is old and bloated. He doesn't have muscle anymore. It's just perfectly cut fat rolls.
That's not even true.
No.
Haven't you seen Fast and the Furious?
Yeah, 20 years ago. And now look at like Fast 8. He's old and bloated.
Yeah, I don't watch those movies, but I know that he's a large man. He's good at saying one word, and he's going to wear a mask. So you don't even see his like necklace face.
Yeah, I already can tell we need a judge.
Yeah, because I will not give in.
Me either. Yeah, like the problem with your movie is Freddie Prinze Jr. I'm not going to buy him as Batman. He looks like a frat guy.
Yeah, but no one wanted to buy Michael. No one wanted to buy Michael Keaton as Batman, and he was a great Batman. He was a good Batman. He was a weird Bruce Wayne, but he was a good Batman. Freddie Prinze Jr. You dye his hair black. You don't have him shout, "Let's get nuts." Black. Yeah, I don't know. I just only picture him in Scooby-Doo, so I still picture him with blonde Freddy hair. So you take out the ascot and you give him a bat suit, and that's the winning choice right there.
I don't know how.
I like my cast better. Who was the voice of your Mr. Freeze?
Keegan-Michael Key.
Okay, I could see it. I'd rather see him as the live action Mr. Freeze. I feel like he'd be a good live action Mr. Freeze too.
Yeah, we want a Pixar. The movie is a cartoon. The movie is a live action cartoon. It is basically a movie version of the 1960s TV show, and that was a cartoon essentially. So I'm putting it in its natural state, a cartoon. You are just making a different Batman movie. You're not rebooting Batman and Robin.
I guess that's fair. I'm basically taking the entire movie and changing
the characters
it up.
And being like, I'm making a different movie with these characters. I'm saying we're going to make the same movie. We're going to make it better, and we're going to put it in animation.
Yeah, but I'm going to be honest. If I give in to that rule, then I'm going to lose pretty much all of these because I changed everything about these.
I changed quite a bit. This is the one I changed the least on, and that's why I'm fighting this point right now.
See, I'll concede on this for one reason. Mine, while it's a movie that I would rather see, I think a Pixar Batman is at least very different than anything we've had, and mine is basically a live action version of some of the DC animated films that we've kind of had the tone and stuff. Oh, the one thing that I would change on yours, though, I forgot because it was in your pitch. You said every Pixar movie needs an emotional opening. I do not care to ever see again on screen Batman's, Bruce Wayne's family getting killed and even Robin's family getting killed. I'll give you the point if you change your opening to the story of Mr. Freeze. You have the love story.
Oh, okay, I'll give you that.
Up. That's a much. If you had said that, you would have won me right away. But I'll give you that tip and then make your movie. So you have the 3-minute up scene of him falling in love with his wife. She gets sick, and then he becomes Mr. Freeze. I want to see that as a Pixar opening scene.
Yeah,
so
That's actually better. I will say I would have given you the point, and I know it was the rule if you would cast literally anyone slightly better than Freddie Prinze. I don't hate Freddie Prinze Jr. I love Freddie Prinze Jr. I just don't love Freddie Prinze Jr. as Batman.
I basically only did that because I love Lexi Alexander's story about him almost being Jigsaw, because she wanted to cast him. And then the studio was like, no, we can't actually do it. We just wanted to throw him a bone. And she was like, but he came in and killed the audition. So I'm like, you know, you would never see him as that character. Anyone who hasn't seen the movie, look up Jigsaw and Punisher Warzone. That's what they were going to make Freddie Prinze Jr. look like. And it's not something that you've ever seen him in. So I'd love to just see him in a big comic book movie, because I feel like he kind of deserves it, because he got shafted about 12 years ago.
All right. Well, I can already say we're 20 minutes in and one movie down, and so we might have to do less than 10 movies from now on. And we should also describe the movie first, unlike what I just did of jumping straight into my pitch. So I guess you're conceding the point. I take the point, which means you pick the next movie and you pick whether you start or I start.
All right. So I am going to pick one that honestly will be pretty quick, since that one went a little long. I'm going to pick Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And I'll let you pitch first on this one.
All right. Yeah, my pitch is actually going to be pretty short as well. So the original Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, I think I've seen it one time, maybe. It's two males played by Paul Newman and Robert Redford are on the run, and they make their way to Bolivia, I think. And it's just a classic Western, two guys on the run. That's all you really need to know, because that's all I really knew when I wrote my pitch. So my rule is I flip the gender on this one, because I'm like, hey, it's two manly men. Let's make it two women. And I thought it'd be interesting to do that. Take like, hey, here's two manly actors in Paul Newman and Robert Redford, and make them women. And I basically made it Thelma and Louise set in the West. Two female outlaws causing trouble and on the run. I would take it seriously, and it wouldn't be a full-on comedy, and I wouldn't draw attention to the fact that they're women. It would just, they would be women, but it wouldn't be like every scene is, haha, they're women out in the West. That's basically my pitch. Johnny, what do you got?
All right. So I'm just going to tell you now I'm winning this point, because this is a movie that needs to get made, and it's pretty much all about the cast, because there's only two people in this whole movie. And I have Butch Cassidy, played by Tommy Wiseau, our boy from The Room. And as the young up-and-coming Sundance Kid, we have James Franco as Tommy Wiseau, as the Sundance Kid. The movie, obviously my rule is putting Tommy Wiseau in, and the director is both James Franco and Tommy Wiseau. There are no other characters in this movie. The whole movie is Tommy Wiseau as Butch Cassidy training James Franco as Tommy Wiseau as the Sundance Kid how to be a cowboy in an old West ghost town. That's the whole movie. It's just those two out west, and they're just, going back and forth for probably 2 hours.
All right. Well, I'm going to at least reveal my director and cast. So my director, my writer-director, if you want to make a great Western, you get the guy who's knocked out, who wrote Hell or High Water, who wrote Sicario, who wrote and directed Wind River. I'm going Taylor Sheridan as my writer-director of my reboot of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Now, when I cast Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, I didn't think of them individually. I wanted a good pair. So I went for people that have worked together in the past that I thought had good chemistry. And I remember two actresses in the movie The Favorite, Rachel Weisz as Butch Cassidy and Emma Stone as the Sundance Kid. Rachel Weisz has been in like a lot of period piece dramas. I think what James Bond movie was she in? I was pretty sure she was in the James Bond movie, or am I wrong?
Who, Rachel Weisz?
Yeah. Or maybe she's just married to Daniel Craig, so I just assumed she was in a Bond movie.
Let me find that, because I do not remember.
And then, anyway, Emma Stone, she's been in La La Land. She was in Easy A, which is an underrated comedy. But either way, like, I think far and away my movie is better. But what movie am I going to go buy a ticket to see? It's definitely Tommy Wiseau and James Franco.
Of course.
Tommy Wiseau and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid reboot. I concede my point.
I see mine. I basically thought, we've had Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. The original holds up because Westerns never get old, you know? So I was like, instead of just trying to make a new serious version, I'm just going to make the movie I want to see. And Rachel Weisz was in The Bourne Legacy. That's probably what you're thinking of. Not Bond. She was in
I know
Bourne.
she's married to Daniel Craig, so I was thinking that's why. So I guess it's my
Yeah.
pick. What do I want? You know what? I'm on this movie right now, and I don't want to scroll too far. We're gonna tackle A Christmas Carol next. And
All right.
I'm gonna let Johnny go first. I mean, I'll describe A Christmas Carol first. It's a guy, he's a piece of crap, gets visited by 3 ghosts that reveal to him what Christmas was like in the past when he was happy, what Christmas is like now where other people were happy, and what Christmas is like in the future where he's dead and people are happy he's dead. And then he decides at the end, I don't want to be a piece of shit anymore. There you go. That's what A Christmas Carol is.
Yeah, and there's a million different versions, and my favorite version is Scrooge. So I kind of played off that a little in terms of
Same.
how it is, but this might be my most passionate one so far. And honestly, it's probably the story I care the least about in terms of A Christmas Carol, and the rule I thought I'd care the least about because I'm making Tyler Perry's A Christmas Carol. And I'm just going to read you my pitch because this is my longest one. All right. So the year is 2035. Tyler Perry plays an older and crankier version of himself who has given up comedy to become a serious actor. He has not played Medea since the year 2020. Perry is rude to his set mates after a bad shoot where he refused to do more takes. Later that night, in his penthouse, Perry hears what sounds like grunting and rattling handcuff chains before being visited by the ghost of Jacob Marley, played by DMX. He tells Perry that tonight he will be visited by 3 ghosts. Soon after, the ghost of Christmas Past, played by Martin Lawrence as Big Mama from Big Mama's House, appears. Big Mama shows Tyler the joy of children watching Big Mama's House and how sad they would be without that film. Next, enter the ghost of Christmas Present, played by Jay Farrow as Medea. Now, Jay Farrow is on SNL, and he has a couple shows right now too. But Jay,
Great impressionist too.
yeah, and so Jay was chosen to take over the role of Medea after Perry's retirement from the character. Jay's Medea takes Tyler to a mostly empty movie theater where the actual Jay Farrow sits in the back in shame while his Medea movie is being booed by the few people in attendance. Last, enter the ghost of Christmas Future, played by Eddie Murphy as an elderly version of Rasputia from Norbit. Now, Rasputia brings Tyler Perry to a graveyard and points to the grave that reads, Eddie Murphy's career, died in 2007. Perry thinks this means he should not play Medea anymore since it killed Eddie's career being in Norbit, until he turns around and sees a new gravestone. This one reads, Here lies the career of Tyler Perry, died in 2020. Never abandon your roots. So Tyler Perry realizes all the pain he has caused the world and himself by giving up his famous role of Medea. The film ends with Perry walking back into the movie studio dressed as Medea and announcing, I'm back, baby. And then over the credits, a trailer for Medea Returns, a Medea Christmas Carol plays. So that's my whole cast, and Tyler Perry is directing this movie.
Yeah, that speaks like someone who hasn't watched Dolomite Is My Name, starring Eddie Murphy, one of the best comedies, if not the best comedy last year.
Also someone who has never seen a Medea movie or Big Mama's House or Norbit. Yeah. But, you know.
Eddie Murphy's career is not dead. Eddie Murphy's career got resurrected last year.
This is an alternate reality where Tyler Perry gives up being Medea, which is also never going to happen.
All right. So here's my pitch for A Christmas Carol. And A Christmas Carol is a movie about a man being haunted by 4 ghosts. It's destined to be a horror film. I want the ghosts to be super scary. They're gross and horrifying, something that would intimidate even the most powerful of men. The overall story is about a black man. You know, you drop your cast and director. I'm going to drop
Do it all. I have nothing else to say to mine.
My director, writer, Jordan Peele. My Ebenezer Scrooge, Denzel Washington. My Bob Cratchit, who works for Ebenezer Scrooge, Lakeith Stanfield, who's been in, he was
Sorry to Bother You. He was in Sorry to Bother You.
Sorry to Bother You, Get Out. He played Snoop Dogg in Straight Outta Compton. My Jacob Marley is Ted Levine, who's I know him best for playing Buffalo Bill and Silence of the Lambs. My
I
ghost of
I was thinking Ted Mosby, but then I realized that's not the real person's name.
My ghost of Christmas past is Tony Todd, who's played Candyman, and he also played Zoom in the CW Flash show. My ghost of Christmas past or present, sorry, is Lupita Nyong'o, who I mainly put in here to pander to Johnny,
To pander to me.
but she's been in Us. She was in The Jungle Book as the wolf that raises Mowgli, the John
She
Favreau
plays
Disney
the
version.
Butthole Eyes character in Star Wars.
Yeah, she plays Maz Kanata in the new Star Wars trilogy. And then my Ghost of Christmas Future. Who better to show Denzel Washington his own future than his son, John David Washington, star of Black Klansman in Christopher Nolan's next movie, Tenet. So anyways, my overall story is about a black man from the hood who got rich by becoming a slumlord, and instead of helping the community he came from, ignores it and has actually made it worse. The Ghost of Christmas Past shows him celebrating Christmas as a kid. He didn't have a lot, but he was loved. It then shows him skipping Christmas with his family and friends to work when he's an older teenager, maybe a young 20-year-old. The Ghost of Christmas Present shows his family celebrating Christmas in low-income housing that he actually owns. There are a lot of people in a small space, but they're happy, and he's not there. The Ghost of Christmas Future shows him another Christmas. Again, everyone is happy. He is confused until he sees they are his tenants celebrating his death. The movie ends with him changing his ways and personally helping to fix up his properties. And that's my entire pitch for A Christmas Carol. And I'm surprised we both made our Christmas carols Black Christmas Carol.
Yeah, but mine is more about Medea. And
Yeah.
honestly, mine sounds like a scarier movie than yours. And it wasn't meant to be.
Yours is scarier if you're Tyler Perry. Yours is scarier because it just means there's more Medea movies.
That's he loves Medea,
scarier.
and it's to remind Tyler Perry that the world loves Medea and he can never stop being Medea. So in this reality, he gives up. He tries to be a serious actor because he's good in Gone Girl. Then he realizes no one cares about that, and they just want Medea back. So, and you have great cameos from other characters. I will not concede
the thing
this.
Is,
just spoiler alert.
The thing is, my movie is better, and I'm more interested to see my movie. Your movie sounds terrible, and I have zero interest in ever watching it.
It's not about your interest, Joe. Mine's about making money. And my box, there is nothing that will make more money than this movie. Your movie,
Jordan
sure,
Peele
it's a
Christmas
horror movie.
Carol.
Yeah,
Jordan Peele Christmas Carol.
But I would never want to see Jordan Peele waste his talents doing a Christmas Carol movie. I want to see him doing more movies like Us and Get Out that are original, movies by his mind. I'm excited
he's
for.
He's gonna take a classic
for Candyman,
which he only produced.
But he produced it, and I could see him like producing a version of A Christmas Carol, but I have no interest in seeing a Christmas Carol directed by him. You're kind of just wasting people I want to see in better roles. I'm picking a movie. I'm giving DMX work because he needs some work, all right? DMX hasn't done anything in a long time. He was amazing in his little cameo in Top 5, and I basically just want another scene like that. And he can also, it's A Christmas Carol, so he can literally be in this movie as Jacob Marley singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
All right, because of that, just because I want that again, I can concede my point. That if you have not watched DMX singing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, stop watching this right now. Go on YouTube above your search bar and type in DMX Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and enjoy the next 45 seconds of your life.
Exactly, and that's going to be just my whole movie.
Just all right, that. So I guess I have to pick again.
Yeah, you got to pick a winner here, Joe, because I'm on a roll.
Yeah. I don't... You know what? No, I'm not going to do that one. I'm going to do Ocean's 11, and I'll start this time because I know Ocean's 11 pretty well. I can describe it. Ocean's 11, basically plot of the movie. Daniel Ocean gets out of prison, played by George Clooney, and decides he's going to rob 3 casinos at the same time. No one in Las Vegas history has ever robbed a casino one time, and he's going to rob all three in one night. And he goes and he gets a crew of 10 more guys. They rob the casino, and it turns out the owner of all three casinos is dating his ex-wife. And at the very end, it's revealed that he tells the casino owner, hey, if you stop dating my ex-wife, I'll figure out where your money is and you can have it. And Terry Benedict, the owner of the casino, says that, that works for me. I'll make it happen. Well, unbeknownst to Terry Benedict, his ex-wife, his girlfriend, Daniel Ocean's ex-wife, was watching the whole time. And she's not too happy, and she leaves him, and she goes back to George Clooney. So George Clooney gets the money and gets the girl. And that's basically the plot of Ocean's 11. Now,
for those of you who haven't seen the small independent film Ocean's 11, here's the plot breakdown.
Not everyone has seen Ocean's 11. All right.
Hey, I'm going to be honest. That's probably true. But I'm glad you explained it because I did not write out anything as far as the plot or pitch. So at least I don't have to do any work.
I didn't write that down. That was from memory. And so the George Clooney Ocean's 11 was a crime thriller with a touch of comedy. I'm going to make it a full-on laugh-out-loud comedy with a touch of heart. It's the same plot as the Clooney version, but packed with jokes and goofy over-the-top characters. Danny Ocean, who was recently released from prison, wants to rob 3 Las Vegas casinos, just like I said, except for in the original version, in the George Clooney version, it was a boxing match. I'm going to make it a UFC fight. It's 2020, no one cares about boxing. It's all about UFC. He approaches his best friend, Rusty, and they decide they need more guys, all of which have various skills, including the 2 most talented drivers west of the Mississippi, the Malloy brothers, who constantly bicker back and forth. The casinos have recently been bought by eccentric tech mogul Terry Benedict. In the original version, he was more of like a mob boss, but this version, especially when you see who I cast, an eccentric tech mogul makes way more sense. At the end of the movie, Daniel Ocean, having all of the money stashed away, is approached by Benedict, who is engaged to Ocean's ex-wife, like I said. Benedict suspects Ocean is involved in his casino's robbery. Ocean says he doesn't know anything, but he might know a guy who knows something. Ocean tells Benedict if he breaks off the wedding, he will find Benedict's money. Benedict agrees. Ocean's ex-wife overhears and walks out on him. The movie ends with the Malloy brothers bickering as they drive the van with all of the money. Their arguing distracts them and they crash and flip over the van, causing all of the money to blow across the Las Vegas Strip, leaving all of our heroes broke.
So did we go over what your rule is, or is that your cast?
We haven't got to my rule yet. My rule is in the casting.
Okay, so I'll get into mine, and I'll do my cast, and then you can do yours, because you obviously put more work into this than me. Because basically mine is, now picture what you just said, but as a Pixar movie.
If you had said, which movie did Johnny make a Pixar movie? I said, I feel like it's Ocean's 11.
It is because I didn't know what else to do with it, and I didn't care enough to not make it a Pixar movie. So my director, what a coincidence, it's Brad Bird, director of Ratatouille, The Incredibles, and also Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. So you already have some heist-type stuff in there. He knows how to direct some action. Funny enough, he worked with George Clooney in Tomorrowland, but he won't be doing that in this movie. I'll just go over my cast. I kind of wrote out what everyone's roles are too, so people know. But I have Danny Ocean, that is played now by Jason Bateman. I need someone kind of smooth and cunning, and he kind of does that well in Zootopia. Frank Cotton, played by Bernie Mac. He's a con man and a casino worker. I want Chris Rock to voice that character. I feel like, Bernie Mac was a good, he was an inspiration to Chris Rock and one of his idols, and he passed on, so Chris Rock would be honored to take over that role. Brad Pitt, I need someone who's worked in a Pixar movie before and has a Rusty Ryan. I said Brad Pitt, but I'm going to put Jason Lee as that role. He's got the voice I'm looking for that, and he was already in The Incredibles working with Brad Pitt.
Brad Bird.
As Brad Pitt. I keep saying Brad Pitt instead of Brad Bird. That's too confusing to me. All right, so past that. Elliot Gould, he was played by Ruben Tishkoff in the original one. I'm throwing John Ratzenberger in there because he's got to be in every Pixar movie. Virgil and Turk Malloy were played by Scott Conn and Casey Affleck. They're both mechanics. I'm making them a father-son duo played by Damon Wayans and Damon Wayans Jr. Livingston Dell, played by Eddie Jemison in the original one. He's an electronics expert, so I picked someone who already has electronics work in a movie, and that's Jim Carrey because of his work in the classic movie The Cable Guy. So he's got to be the electrician. And then I'm having Don Cheadle's character, Basher Tarr. He's an explosive expert. Who better to work with explosives than Jason Statham? I need a character that's all ready to blow things up, and they're like, no, that's not the plan. The Amazing Yen is Shabo Kin in the original one. He's an acrobat, so I have Donnie Yen voicing him. And I'm going to give him a few more lines because I don't know if he even speaks much in actual Ocean's 11. Saul Bloom, played by Carl Reiner. He's an elderly con man. Carl Reiner just recently passed, so who better to play him than Rob Reiner, his son. Linus Caldwell, it was Matt Damon. He was a pickpocket. So I want someone with some experience pickpocketing, and that's Menem Mossad from Aladdin. He is maybe the most famous movie character pickpocket, and he needs more work. He was good in Aladdin, even though that movie was average. Tony Benedict, Andy Garcia, he's the Cuban casino owner, so who better to play that over-the-top Cuban casino owner than Pitbull himself, Mr. Worldwide. And Tess Ocean, we're replacing Julia Roberts with Rose Byrne just because I needed someone who's been in comedy movies, and she was good in Neighbors, and I like Rose Byrne. So that's my whole movie. It's just Ocean's 11, but Pixar, and you had some more jokes in there and a better cast, honestly.
All right, so my version of Ocean's 11, my director-writer, it's a comedy, it's a heist movie, it's a little bit of action. Who better than Taika Waititi to direct Ocean's 11? And then I try to stick with people that have worked with Taika in the past. Not all of them have, but they have some connection to Taika. Taika Waititi, he, if you didn't know, has directed Thor Ragnarok, directed What We Do in the Shadows, directed the season finale of The Mandalorian. So my Danny Ocean, who better than Heimdall himself, Idris Elba? For Rusty, who was originally played by Brad Pitt, I got Thor himself, Chris Hemsworth. And Linus, who was played by Matt Damon, who is like originally the son of a guy they used to work with. I'm now switching his character, and he's now Rusty's younger brother. So I'm getting Liam Hemsworth to play Linus the pickpocket.
Bad choice.
Frank, like Johnny said, he's a casino worker, originally played by Bernie Mac. I'm going with Carl Weathers. Apollo Creed himself is now playing Frank. Now Ruben, the rich guy that's backing all of it, is played by Jeff Goldblum. Now, Basher. Here's where my rule comes in. Basher was a guy that had an accent no one could understand, that I was confused by as a kid, and who better to play Basher than Tommy Wiseau? And I feel like Tommy Wiseau would be perfect in a Taika Waititi movie because I think Taika Waititi could make him work. I think Taika Waititi can make Tommy Wiseau actually funny in this movie.
He is funny. He is funny. By himself, he's funny. Don't you follow him on Twitter?
No.
Dude's a comedic genius.
And so my Malloy brothers, Virgil and Turk, are played by two people that have worked with Taika on What We Do in the Shadows. I have Jermaine Clement from the movie and Matt Berry from What We Do in the Shadows TV show. Now, Livingston Dell is the tech guy, and this one was harder for me to cast, but I eventually settled on Sam Rockwell, who worked with Taika on Jojo Rabbit. Now, my yen, I couldn't find really any Asian people that have worked with Taika in the past, so I went with the most comedic choice, and I went with Julian Dennison, who worked with Taika in Hunt for the Wilder People, and he was also the young child in Deadpool 2. And I think we'd have to change the backstory from being a acrobat, but I think putting Julian Dennison in this movie in any role is a great choice. And I agree with Johnny on one thing. We got to replace Saul, and RIP Carl Reiner, and who better to take over the role of Saul than Rob Reiner?
Yeah, I knew we'd both have that choice. We're both smart men.
Yeah, for sure. And Terry Benedict. It's a Taika Waititi movie. Who better to play an eccentric tech mogul
Isn't
than
it? Is it
Taika Waititi?
Tony Benedict or Terry Benedict?
Terry Benedict.
Oh, I have Tony Benedict.
Yeah, it's Terry. Yeah.
Seems
Who
like
better?
a whole different person.
Who better to take over the role and be an eccentric tech mogul than Taika Waititi himself is playing? And then for Tess Ocean, I couldn't find anyone I like that had worked with Taika in the past, so I just cast a good comedic actress, and I have Isla Fisher as Tess Ocean, who I could see being in love with both Taika and Idris Elba. And so that's my pitch for Ocean's 11 with Tommy Wiseau.
See, I feel like you wasted your rule of Tommy Wiseau because he should be the star of the movie.
I
would
intentionally
love him.
buried him.
He should 100% be Terry Benedict in this movie.
No.
That is the role that he was born to play, other than my movie with him, where he was also born to play. And the Joker, which he campaigned himself to be for a while. You obviously put more work in. You have an actual plot. I just kind of put people I thought I'd like as the voices. Honestly, I'm not interested in seeing your movie, but you put more work in. So while I don't want to concede, I respect the work that you put into it, and I agree we both nailed the Rob Reiner casting. So
yeah, obviously
that's good. But you know, the one thing with your movie, though, I love Taika Waititi and I love all the actors you cast, but again, I have no interest in seeing a Taika Waititi Ocean's 11. I want to see a Taika Waititi original movie or something like that. But since ours basically takes place in a fictional world, it's not like he's losing work because of your fictional movie. So I'll give it to you. You know, I won't even have you fight for it.
Nice.
I have no emotional connection to Ocean's 11.
I love Ocean's 11.
You love it.
Top 25 all time. I think I accidentally deleted one of our movies from the banner, so we will have one that doesn't have a.
Yeah, that'll be all right. All right, so it is now 2-2. I need to bounce back here, get a point. Let's see, where am I going to go?
Yeah, definitely.
Should I go with my comedic pitch or should I go with the movie I actually want? You know what? I'm going to go with Spaceballs.
All right.
And I'm going to go second on this one.
All right, so Spaceballs, if you haven't seen it, it's a spoof of the original Star Wars trilogy, and there's other space and movie references in there as well, but for the most part, it's a spoof of the original Star Wars trilogy. Now, I'm just going to give you my full pitch right now.
Yeah, do it all because I'm going to do my whole thing after you.
All right. So I won't give you my rule quite yet, but my writer-director is Lord and Miller because I feel they can take all of their hate and passion from being fired from Solo and channel it into this movie. So obviously, Lone Star, I'm bringing back Bill Pullman. And so what I'm essentially doing instead of rebooting the movie is I'm making a sequel to Spaceballs that is a spoof of the sequel trilogy. And I just put the sequel trilogy name in there. I didn't try to come up with like new character names. So my Kylo Ren analog is played by Channing Tatum. My Rey analog is played by Anna Kendrick. I combined the roles of Finn and Poe, and I'm bringing back Donald Glover out of Star Wars, and I'm putting him in this movie. My BB-8 will be played by Peter Dinklage, and because of the death of John Candy, I'm saying Barf died as well, and we're bringing Barf Jr. into the adventure, and he's being played by Jack Black. So this is my movie. A scavenger girl, Rey, meets a former Spaceball, Donald Glover, who we learn is the son of the we ain't found shit guy, because apparently everyone in Star Wars has to be connected to someone else, and why can't that be the same for Spaceballs? She helps him escape the Spaceballs, who are looking for the BB-8, a small alcoholic droid, which essentially what I would have is Peter Dinklage and like a orange and white hamster ball running around, and it's clear it's just a guy in a hamster ball, and he's just chugging beers. Because for whatever reason, I feel like that fits with Spaceballs, and it's funny. They soon run into Lone Star, BB-8's owner, and Barf Jr. Lone Star is down on his luck and grumpy. His former student abandoned him and turned to the dark side. Lone Star recognizes the Schwartz in the girl, but refuses to train her because she'll abandon him too. They get a distress call from now General Vespa that Dark Helmet 2.0, which is essentially Kylo Ren, has attacked the Capitol. In that moment, Lone Star decides to train the girl in the Schwartz. Many jokes about the former Spaceball not having anything to do, just like Finn didn't have anything to do in the sequel trilogy. Lone Star trains her in the Schwartz, and they go take on Dark Helmet 2.0. We find out Dark Helmet 2.0 is Lone Star and Vespa's son, obviously. He then kills Lone Star and captures the girl. He takes the girl to his mentor, Dark Helmet, with a Rick Moranis cameo. That's my rule that I'm bringing in, is a cameo from an original cast member. And we're bringing back Rick Moranis. So you could almost say I'm reviving his career, but we obviously can't use two rules in one, so it's just a Rick Moranis cameo. There, Dark Helmet reveals the girl is his granddaughter and tries to return her to the dark side. But eventually, Dark Helmet 2.0 kills Dark Helmet, and the girl kills Dark Helmet 2.0. And that is my pitch for Spaceballs 2.
All right. Well, interesting. Who was your director? Lord Miller?
Lord Miller, who directed 21 and 22 Jump Street.
The Lego
directed
movie.
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, the Lego movie, yeah.
And yeah, fired from Solo for making it seem like an Ace Ventura movie, which in hindsight I would have rather seen. So my movie, I will give you my cast, and then I'll do my pitch and tell you my rule. So my Lone Star, you got to go with the chalk here. He could have been Han Solo in a different reality, but Chris Pratt, he's going to be my Lone Star. Mine's not a sequel. It is a remake of the original one. Barf, R.I.P. John Candy. My Barf is going to be played by Jonah Hill. We're going to make him gain a little weight again. He's going to play Barf because you need fat Jonah Hill in a comedy. My Dark Helmet, I need someone who can kind of capture that old Rick Moranis character and someone nerdy enough to know about the franchise. So I'm going to throw Patton Oswalt as a Dark Helmet. I feel like he would be perfect for that role. Yogurt, I want Steve Martin to play Yogurt. Teach him about now I don't even remember. What is it? The
Schwartz.
The Schwartz. There we go. Princess Vespa, I have Kate McKinnon. And Dot Matrix, I have Kristen Wiig. They have good chemistry together. They're friends, and they can be a nice little pair. And Kristen Wiig annoys me, and that's kind of what Dot Matrix is supposed to do. So I feel like that's a role I could see her being good at. My director is going to be Malcolm D. Lee of Girls Trip. I felt like it's someone else who kind of needs like a bigger budget comedy. Girls Trip's great, so wanted to see him get some more work. So my rule is that there is going to be a twist thrown into Spaceballs. So I'm going to read you my pitch, and I'm going to try to look at your face while I do it. So the movie plays out similar to the original Spaceballs with some updated references. But before Lone Star is able to defeat Dark Helmet while they are fighting, you hear the voice of George Lucas yelling, "JJ, stop playing with your toys and come down for dinner." The film cuts to J.J. Abrams in his room holding toys of Dark Helmet and Lone Star and clashing them together and says, "George, stop interrupting me. I'm playing with my toys." The camera cuts to the rest of J.J.'s room. Next to the table full of Spaceballs toys is a table full of the Disney Star Wars characters. It is revealed that the Disney Star Wars films are not true canon, but in the same universe as this Spaceballs movie, allowing more capable minds to make the new episode 7 through 9 trilogy. Boom. Twist. Now we're remaking all the Star Wars Disney movies.
Yeah, I'm never conceding this point. We can be here for 20 hours and you will not defeat me.
I put more thought into mine, and it is essentially is to troll you, but also would allow us to get a actual real trilogy that doesn't continue to shit all over itself like the new 7 through 9 does. And I just think it shouldn't be canon, and you can remake it. You could also use it to remake the prequels. Have it cut to the prequel stuff. The only real Star Wars movies are the original ones, so make new ones. I was debating on George Lucas or Kathleen Kennedy for the voice calling to JJ, but George Lucas has a more noticeable voice. I just can't do an impression of it.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, I'm not conceding this point. My movie is a real movie. Your movie is a joke.
But your movie
is a setup.
So is Space. What's more Spaceballs than just using it to set up a punchline? That's what the whole movie is. Your movie is just a sequel that no one wants.
I want it. Everyone wants Spaceballs too. There were posters like 2 years ago.
Only if Mel Brooks is doing it.
I would at this point. I'd rather have Prime Lord and Miller than 99-year-old Mel Brooks sad about the death of his best friend. I don't need Mel Brooks. I don't need Mel Brooks to do another movie. He's old and he doesn't know what he's doing anymore. When's the last time he's done a movie? I'd rather have Lord and Miller in the prime.
You keep saying prime, but weren't they just fired off Star Wars movies? Which that movie wouldn't exist anymore, so they wouldn't have anything to be angry about. Yeah. That movie's just going to be like, oh yeah, that's not true canon. Those were all the entire 7 through 9 trilogy and all the Disney movies and this Spaceballs movie were all just to set up my joke twist ending. It would be the greatest con in movie history. It'd be like the MCU setting up Thanos, but Thanos is just a twist.
Yeah,
it'd be something never done.
You're trying to win me over. You're trying to win me over by taking away Solo, a movie that's awesome. You're going to take away The Force Awakens, a movie that's awesome. Yeah, maybe The Last Jedi is just okay, and The Rise of Skywalker is fine.
But no, The Rise of Skywalker is the worst movie ever made in the history of film, and it extensively makes The Force Awakens, which used to be good, and The Last Jedi, which used to be good. The Rise of Skywalker is so bad for existing that those movies are terrible. Now, if you like The Force Awakens, you could remake Force Awakens just how it is, but then we could get better sequels to it. You know, this provides a better opportunity for the future of film than being stuck with another shitty Star Wars trilogy because they haven't done a good one in now, what, almost 50 years?
Yeah, you're saying that as someone who recently talked about Batman and Robin. Batman and Robin is pure trash. Batman and Robin is like The Rise of Skywalker.
Batman and Robin doesn't... Because of Batman and Robin, we got the Dark Knight trilogy. Because of The Rise of Skywalker, they ruined all hope that people have in Disney as a company. Disney will now go bankrupt without my Spaceballs movie. Which honestly is probably better for the world. So
that's just inaccurate.
Yeah, well, I like to take things to extremes while I'm debating. I do not know how either of us will win this one.
Are we just going to call this a push and no point? No point awarded?
We'll have to go no point because I refuse to concede. Yeah.
So we're
mine
definitely getting a judge.
We're definitely getting a judge. And my judge is going to be someone who hates Star Wars like me. Not really, but
so what are we saying? I picked the last one.
No, I don't know what we do about that.
I think you picked Spaceballs.
I picked that one. You pick one.
Okay. I think for the next one, we're going to head to Chicago. We're going to go to the Breakfast Club.
All right.
So the original Breakfast Club is basically about 5 very different kids who all get detention for different reasons, and they all grow and become better friends, and they all will grow to actually become friends. And then the principal's there, and he yells at them. And then that's the Breakfast Club, essentially. That's all you really need to know.
Right, it's 5 clicks. They don't think they're gonna
it's
work together, and by the end of it, they're friends because they team up to be rebellious.
Yeah,
basically.
Everyone knows what the Breakfast Club is, even if they haven't seen it. Still, the Breakfast Club, or as I should say, Tyler Perry's The Breakfast Club. Now,
I was waiting for this role to come into play for you.
My version of Tyler Perry's The Breakfast Club is about black teens dealing what it means to be a black teen in America. The jock is told to avoid politics and focus on football, even though he wants to major in poli-sci next year in college. The nerd doesn't connect with quote-unquote black culture because he doesn't listen to hip-hop and he prefers Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings over Black Panther. The popular girl grew up with money and wants to support the Black Lives Matter movement, but doesn't connect to the struggles and stories of a lot of her classmates and other activists. The loner girl is an extreme activist who supports many causes, but it has cost her friendships because she doesn't make time for them. And then the troubled kid is who they all compare themselves to because he's like middle class and he has a lot of the struggles. And he has friends and he supports the causes, but at the end it's revealed, just like in the original version, that his home life isn't that great. And essentially the overall movie is about being who you are and not being what you're told you're supposed to be. And I'll just drop my cast in as well. Obviously, my director-writer, Tyler Perry. My jock is played by Caleb McLaughlin. I don't know how to say it, but he's the one black kid in Stranger Things. It's really all he's known for. The troubled kid, going to go with Jaden Smith. The nerd is Justice Smith, who was in Pokemon Detective Pikachu. He was in Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom or whatever that crappy movie was called. The popular girl is played by Halle Bailey, who I've never seen in anything, but apparently she's going to play Ariel in Disney's Little Mermaid. My loner girl is played by Zendaya, who has been in a number of Disney Channel shows. She plays MJ in the new Spider-Man movies. And of course, my principal is now Principal Medea, played by Tyler
There you go. Principal Medea. So wait, so you pitched this movie, and I know it's a comedy, but you pitched it as a Tyler Perry movie where his characters actually have depth, and then you made it a Medea movie.
Not all Tyler, yeah, because it's a little bit of both. Like, because the principal shows in, and then he yells at them, and then leaves, and then they have all of their emotional moments, and so that's what it is. It's like depth with like a little bit of comedy every time Medea shows up.
Yeah, but I feel like you have a misunderstanding of Tyler Perry movies.
Okay, because I've seen none of them, so.
Yes, well, I almost went to see one in theaters because my girlfriend's grandparents are, they're Jamaican, but they live in Canada, and they love Medea. So we almost saw whatever the last one was, but it was, I have no idea. It got too late, so we went to see something else without them, which was fine by me. But if you make that a Tyler Perry movie, I might see it. No, I won't. Anyway, my pitch. I took the rule. You know, it's going to play out the same as the regular Breakfast Club, but I switched the genders of all of the recasted roles in my movie. Felt like this was kind of prime for that. And it's, it's an 80s movie. Really, the only way you can put a new take on the Breakfast Club and still make it kind of classic is to do it this way. So my John Bender, Judd Nelson role is going to be Joan Bender. That's going to be played by Midori Francis. She was Lily in Good Boys. If you haven't seen Good Boys, I highly recommend it. My Molly Ringwald character, my Claire Standish, is going to be Clark Standish. That's going to be Alex Wolff of Nickelodeon fame and Hereditary fame. My Brian Johnson, the Anthony Michael Hall original role, that's going to be played by Maya Hawke from Stranger Things. It's going to be Bree Johnson. She's also the daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke. She's, the nerdy one that's kind of depressed and suicidal. They find a gun in her locker. That's why she's in detention. Andrew Clark, the Emilio Estevez role. It's Andrea Clark. That is the athlete. That's going to be played by Zendaya. So we both cast Zendaya in our movies. We are running
very different roles.
Very different roles, but she's going to be the star soccer player. I've already seen her kind of be the MJ rebellious character. So I want to change it up. Put her in the more popular girl role because she's going to be the athlete. Allison Reynolds, played by Ali Sheedy in the original, the kind of misunderstood character. That's going to be Cody Smith McPhee. He was in the American remake of Let the Right One In, Let Me In. He's been in a few things. He has a very, very memorable face. You would definitely
Yeah, he
recognize him
was
if you
also in
saw
the
him. He was in one of the Planet of the Apes movies, I
yeah,
believe,
that's what I was
right?
gonna say. Yeah. I think it's War. Or no, it's he's in the
It's
middle one.
Dawn,
Dawn.
right?
Dawn, yeah.
Dawn. And then my the principal or teacher, Mr. Vernon, originally played by Paul Gleason. That's going to be Linda Cardellini. Linda Cardellini's great in everything. She was in the Scooby-Doo movies again as Velma, but she's Hawkeye's wife in the Avengers movies, and she's great in everything she does. So and she's kind of the role I'm looking for that. Can kind of be the straight character, but also be funny. And my director, after I really liked Booksmart, so I'm going to go with Olivia Wilde. I feel like this would be a good follow-up directing choice for her. So that's my cast.
All right. Yeah, like it's hard because our movies are very similar. Like mine's more like has a take on it, I guess I should say, than yours. Yours just like flipped it, and that's also a take. But I feel like mine's a stronger movie. I'm more interested to see where yours is just like Breakfast Club with the gender switch. I feel like my movie's more different. Where yours is like, yeah, it's kind of the same. It's just genders are flipped.
Yeah, but I like it with updated jokes and stuff. That's the one thing of like some of the 80s comedies. You can kind of update and just make the characters more updated. So instead of just like you can actually go into it's a comedy, but you can get into the now in my movie, the Maya Hawke character, the nerdy character struggling with depression and bullying. And you have a capable director to do so. You bring in like the protests and everything like that, and I just don't trust Tyler Perry to actually have something real to say, especially if then it's going to do that and then be a Medea movie. Like I feel like it needs to be just a straight up comedy with goofy characters, or have like the characters you described. But all the characters you described don't fit in a Tyler Perry movie.
That's true, I guess. Fuck.
So that's kind of my thing with it. So
Yeah.
if yours was just like, oh, we have these goofy kids put in a room and Medea's the principal, I'd be like, all right, well, you kind of nailed a Tyler Perry movie, but I just don't trust him to actually have something to say. So I don't need him getting into real political issues, unless he wanted to make a serious movie about it. But don't combine that with Medea, which basically are just made so people can go in and laugh and pray at the same time, essentially.
Yeah,
So I like mine just because I feel like I liked Olivia Wilde's tone at Booksmart. So I want to take more of her characters from that movie and basically put 5 of them into a room, because she did a good job of having like the kind of like the woke teenagers and everyone, you have the partiers, but they were all still smart. And she did a good job showing everyone had a good like duality. It wasn't just one thing where everyone in the 80s kind of saw the cliques. I feel like she's a good, capable director of kind of doing that with all these characters.
Yeah, you make a good point. That Olivia Wilde pushed it over the edge, so I'm going to concede.
Yeah, I'll take it. That was a little bit of it. I mean, I liked Booksmart a lot, but I knew how much you liked Booksmart. So I was like, I got to try to win this point. Even though I did pitch all of these before I knew we were going to do it as like a competition. Yeah. So I am proud of my 3-2 score right now. So we're halfway through, about an hour in.
Because we did 6 originally, because we have one that's not on the scoreboard.
Oh yeah, I forgot. We pushed on Spaceballs.
we're like
I refuse to concede. We'll leave that one up to like if anyone actually listens to this, we'll put a poll up and people can choose what pitch is better. Yeah. So you conceded, so you can pick our next. I have
my next pick. I'm thinking because there's one I deleted. I don't remember which one I deleted. Do you know which ones we haven't done yet?
So far we still have Body Heat. We have Demolition Man, Face Off.
Demolition Man got deleted.
And Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
So I think I'm gonna choose Body Heat, but I'm gonna make you go first.
All right. So anyone who doesn't know, Body Heat is a classic movie from 1981. It stars William Hurt and Kathleen Turner. It takes place in Miami or in Florida, wherever it is. There's a big it's just really hot down there. Everyone's all sweaty, but William Hurt he's a lawyer and he meets this girl. She's married. They fall in love, have hot, passionate scenes. They fall in love. She convinces him, "Hey, the only way we're going to be together is if we kill my husband." So they kill the husband, and then there's a few twists and turns at the end. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it because it is a really good movie. So I do. I would recommend people see that if they haven't. So for mine, it's essentially the same movie, but we're gonna update it. The old one is very 80s, so I want to see it in a new type of way, updated to nowadays. And really, the only change I'm adding, because in the original one, they just really kind of all of a sudden come up with the plan to kill the husband. I'm going to throw in that Maddie Walker, which was originally Kathleen Turner's character. She fakes injuries and convinces Ned that her husband's abusive to convince him into going that extra mile and actually killing the husband. I'm just going to do my pitch. So I took a rule of I'm making this movie complete Oscar bait. You know, you already have it based on a movie that I don't think it got many Oscar nominations, but it's a critically acclaimed movie from the 80s. So you have already a name behind it. The perfect director for this movie was David Fincher. He did Gone Girl. This is a similar type of story, so I want to see his tone put into this movie. My writer, there's no more Oscar bait writer than Aaron Sorkin, and he is good at doing walk and talks, which I could see these characters doing it. The whole movie is about their back and forth, and he's good at writing those. My score is by Alexander Desplat, who just won for Shape of Water and has been nominated a bunch of times. Because the original movie has a good score, so I needed someone Oscar-y to be there. My Ned, my lead character replacing William Hurt, is going to be Shia LaBeouf, which I like to call him. My Maddie Walker is going to be Margot Robbie, who already has been critically acclaimed for Wolf of Wall Street and I, Tonya. Edmund Walker, which originally was Richard Crenna. That's the husband. That's going to be played by another actor who's been nominated, Michael Shannon. Teddy Lewis was originally Mickey Rourke. He's a young bomb maker. I want that to be another. That was one of Mickey Rourke's first movies, and that kind of broke him out into Hollywood. So I want to do that same thing, give it to someone who is going to break out very soon, and that is Austin Butler. He was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as Tex, and he's going to be Elvis if they ever get that movie off the ground. He was cast as to be Elvis in a biopic. So before he really hits the big market, I put him as the young bomb maker. So that's my cast and my pitch. It's going to be all Oscar bait. We're going to try to get some awards.
All right. So mine is I want to take the best parts of the original and I don't want to change the movie because it's actually a good movie. I just want to update the story like Johnny did. I want to include cell phones, internet, and online dating. And when I tell you the director, I think the director I chose is the best choice for a thriller that involves social media. In my version, Ned and Natty meet on Tinder or a fictional equivalent. Ned is known to his group of friends as a serial dater and really only uses the app to hook up. His friends are shocked to find out that he has been talking to the same girl for a few weeks. And before Ned and Natty meet, Natty reveals via pictures that she is married but is abused. She shows pictures of bruises and injuries. But when they meet, it is hot and steamy, and Natty convinces Ned to help her kill her husband. From there, the story is basically the same as the original with all the same twists and turns. Now, my director, I'm a big fan of Johnny's choice because I chose the same person. David Fincher is directing.
glad we both agree on that.
Directing my version of Body Heat. Now, my Ned, I wanted someone who was physically attractive, but I thought William Hurt in the original had like a nerdy edge to him. So I went with Chris Pine, who's in Wonder Woman and he's in Hell or High Water. I think if you put glasses on him and a weird mustache, he could give that same vibe that William Hurt gave in the original. Now, for my rule, is casting a comedian actor or actress in a serious role. And I'm casting Aubrey Plaza as Natty Walker, who's in Parks and Rec. And I think she could give off that same vibe. And I think she has that allurishness, is that a word? I don't know. That could convince Chris Pine to help her kill her husband. And then for my Teddy Lewis, the bomb maker, I'm also casting Shia LaBeouf, but just as the bomb maker and not as Ned. So my
Okay.
bomb maker is Shia LaBeouf.
That's a very weird crossover. I thought there was like no way Shia LaBeouf would be in your movie.
But yeah, he's just the
But
bomb maker, and in yours, he's the main guy.
that's really funny. Um,
And my main problem with yours is the addition of mine is I just don't know if it's like updated enough. If like dating and things have changed so much in the last like 40 years.
yeah, you put a little more thought into the like updating it with like Tinder. I just kind of was just like, ah, well, I'd like to update it because it is the 80s. Like they just kind of run into each other at a bar and stuff. I think adding cell phones and stuff is basically the idea of, I was having of updating it.
Yeah.
But all right, so here's my thing. Now, you have definitely tried to pitch to me with Aubrey Plaza because I love her.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
she's
that was
already
intentional.
But she's already done if you've seen Ingrid Goes West, it has some comedy in it, but I would say that's a pretty serious like acting role, as well as she was in like the Child's Play movie that just came out with or
Horror and
the
comedy is
Chucky
basically
one.
the same thing. It's all timing.
Similar. I mean, she hasn't had like an Oscar role, so she hasn't been in like a David Fincher movie. But she's definitely shown she can act. But I do feel it's a little bit of a cheat on your rule. But I think she's capable of it, and I would fall in love with her. I'd kill her husband if she told me to.
That's what I was thinking. I was like thinking because I was thinking of the rules, and I was thinking, okay, what? Because originally I was trying to think of like a funny guy I could put in this movie, and then for whatever reason I thought of Aubrey Plaza, and I'm like, no, I'll put Aubrey Plaza as Natty Walker because I think she could be actually pretty good in this role.
Yeah, I think she could play the role pretty well. But at the same time, I've kind of just made the movie that I want to see. I feel like all the characters in mine are the ones like I was looking for someone maybe with more recent like nominations and stuff. Shia doesn't really have any, but he easily could have been nominated for Fury. He's so good in that movie, and I think he could get some award recognition after the Tax Collector comes out. Yeah. So I just felt like he was a good role, and he's a similar age to Margot Robbie. I didn't want like a big disparity in terms of age for mine. And Margot Robbie is another person that, she's one of the most beautiful actresses in Hollywood. If she tells you, hey, kill my wife, let's be together.
If she tells me to kill her wife, then I'm thinking
kill her husband. but the movie too is, I mean, I think you kind of got to put in like passionate love scenes, sex scenes, and that's kind of why Shia LaBeouf has done that. He did those weird, not necrophilia. What were those weird movies called? Nymphomaniac movies. But he has experience with long, like love sex scenes in movies, and so does Margot Robbie from Wolf of Wall Street. I feel like you kind of need that for this movie because that was a big part of the original. It was like this sexy thriller. And I don't see Chris Pine or Aubrey Plaza really having that aspect. I feel like they'd have the other stuff, but maybe like the love connection, but not like the hot, passionate love affair that
you haven't seen Chris Pine then.
I mean, I have, but like he's good in Wonder Woman, and he's a good like Prince Charming, literally in that movie where he's Prince Charming, but he doesn't really have any roles where he really does any of that because I'm not sure he's really interested in doing it. And like the closest thing Aubrey Plaza would have would be her like dressing as Catwoman in Ingrid Goes West, but I don't know if she really is down to do that and have naked lovemaking on screen, where these two are basically already two that would do that. And while that's not like a super important thing in most movies, that
different.
You just want to see Aubrey Plaza naked, which I honestly won't.
I knew you did, and that's why I put her in this role.
Yeah, but I feel like she just wouldn't do it, and I don't know. I buy her more as if you reverse the roles. I'd buy her more as the Ned character than the Kathleen Turner character, the Maddie Walker. Her as
like a real life, like a less comedic, more dramatic version of her, like Janet Snakehole. Like character within a character from Parks and Rec. Like imagine
I can't even picture that.
Imagine Janet Snakehole, but like a real person and not just a character that April Ludgate plays in Parks and Rec. That's
Yeah,
what.
but I don't want to see April cheat on Chris Pratt.
Well, Chris Pratt's married to Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter, so that ship has sailed.
Oh God, yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know he got remarried. I remember him getting divorced.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. What else do you like about mine? Do you
I don't
like
like anything about yours. Yours is terrible. Mine is amazing.
See, that's not how these things work. Because I like some aspects of yours.
I
You put
mean,
more
yours
thought than
just
I did
felt like
into the actual updating.
yours just felt like a
But
recasting of the original, where I didn't really feel like there was any kind of I mean, you put the like bruises, but I think that was in the original as well.
no, they don't. They don't really have any. It's just in the original. It's just like, hey, we got to kill it. See, it's tough because like I have more ideas to update it, but I don't want to like spoil the whole movie. So I feel
Yeah.
like there would be more updated, like the twists that happen. Ned wouldn't figure it out so easily, maybe
Yeah.
not at all, and you would just reveal it with camera work and stuff, and you wouldn't have just like him saying it out loud at the end. Like more updates, like in terms of making it like the reveal of Gone Girl, how it's halfway through it's just like, oh, this is a whole different movie than you thought. That's kind of what Body Heat is, but they do it. They would just do that stuff better. I'm not really as worried about like the technology and that.
Yeah.
I just feel like it was a very 80s style movie because it was before twists were a big thing. So
Yeah.
some of it's a little more telegraphed. This one would be more, you don't see it coming and it's smarter. That's like my updating. And it's written by Aaron Sorkin, so it would be, and Fincher's a good director. So that's kind of how I felt. Like my one thing that was definitely I felt like the first one needed was her like try to convince like, hey, my husband is abusive. She kind of is just like, he's a loser. So he's like, all right, let's kill him and be together.
Yeah, that makes sense. But also, I feel like that mine and yours are very much the same, except mine actually takes the technology and like uses it up like, hey, this is how people date in 2020 and not how, and they never didn't date like that in 1981.
Yeah, but I do like them meeting at a bar with the heat and everything. Maybe people are going out, seeing each other.
But like he could be at a
It's
bar.
not the same if you just like swipe right.
But he could be at a bar and she could be at a different bar and they still meet on Tinder.
Here's my thing though. Okay, so this is getting into somewhat spoiler territory.
Yeah,
but in the movie,
can know the spoilers.
Whatever. Everyone watch Body Heat. But
it's on HBO Max.
It's revealed basically she goes out and finds him, right? She goes, this is my guy. He had this one case for the will. That's why I need to find this dude. I feel like it's more believable if she finds him in public like she does in the original than if they just like meet online. Like you'd have to go into more of like, oh, I created this one fake Tinder profile to meet this guy because I knew he was on Tinder. Like obviously you'd have a fake thing so you could be like, she searched him out. It's not just like swiping right, but
she could have been like just.
I feel like it's more interesting.
Swiping right on any lawyer. You could have that too, or if she was just looking through bios and swiping right on anyone who was a lawyer, and he was like the first one that she matched with.
Yeah, but I think it's better for like with the whole point of Body Heat. You're kind of getting rid of the whole like they're outside in the heat, they're sweaty, they're meeting each other like outside, like his shirt's unbuttoned, like that's how they look when they meet. If they just like swipe right, it's like, oh, they don't need to be out doing anything. And I don't need the scene of like him with like the Ted Danson character being like, oh, look at this one hot girl, she just matched me online. Like I'd rather have them meet how they do in the original one, but kind of update just the dialogue.
See, I disagree wholeheartedly. They could be naked
that's our problem.
in their bed swiping. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you get them to be all unbuttoned.
I don't know. Don't love it. So what are we doing?
We're gonna have another Spaceball situation.
We gotta go back to these at some point. How about this? If you give me Body Heat, I'll give you the Spaceballs point.
All right, I can roll with that. So
I feel like mine, just in terms of a movie I'd rather see, it's this one. And the Spaceballs one, mine was basically just to troll you. So I can concede. And we got to award that point somehow. So we'll go, each of us get a point because we're retroactively going Spaceballs to you and Body Heat to me.
All right. So body heat.
That's called compromise.
So you get body heat, right? So I
So I get body heat. So you would pick.
well, I don't have a banner for this because I accidentally deleted it. But we're gonna go to the future of Demolition Man.
Oh, there we go.
And I will go first.
All right.
I gotta scroll down. All right, here we go. My rule is in my casting, so I'll give my full pitch, but it might be okay. Yeah, Demolition Man is about two men: John Spartan, who was originally played by Sylvester Stallone, and Simon Phoenix, who was originally played by Wesley Snipes. John Spartan's a cop. Simon Phoenix is a terrorist, and they both get captured. And when Simon Phoenix is captured, he's put in cryogenic freeze. But since John Spartan essentially destroyed the entire city trying to capture Simon Phoenix, he is also put in cryogenic freeze. And eventually, in the future, Simon Phoenix has been unthawed and is wreaking havoc. And they decide, and in the future, the world has completely changed. There's no crime, so the police essentially are practically like librarians. They don't do anything; they just sit around. There's a few resistance people that don't follow the rules, people that think there are too many rules, because essentially if you swear or anything, it's a ticket. And there's things all over the walls that if they hear you swear, you get a ticket and prints out a violation. And then it ends. Simon Phoenix is unthawed, and they have to unthaw John Spartan to capture Simon Phoenix. And so here's my version of Demolition Man. The overall movie is about the rising and censorship of society, where cancel culture has everyone walking on eggshells, and everyone in the future speaks super
You
politically
lost
correct.
me already.
Well, here's my full
It's
pitch.
the spoiler alert.
Everyone carries around a device that notices a violation and gives them the ticket. Edgar Friendly, who is a revolutionary, and his crew have destroyed their devices and live outside of society. We see the way culture has evolved because neither John or Simon fit in today's society. Along with the evolution of PC culture, we see a defunded and militarized police force. The police don't operate the way John Spartan is used to, and the cops of the future aren't equipped to handle someone like Simon Phoenix, which is why the character of Lenina Huxley, a police officer, is so important. She represents the new police. She's more of a social worker than what we would consider a cop today. She also grew up in the world of Demolition Man. She has never sworn in her life and has never received a single violation. Lenina learns about balance during her interactions with John Spartan. She shouldn't be as brash or as rough or in tumble as he is, but she doesn't need to be as prim and proper as she has been either. All of this is backdrop for an over-the-top action movie with weird characters. The movie's about balance. That's what my Demolition Man is about. And you know what? I'll give you my writer-director.
Give me your cast me this movie and stuff.
My writer-director is Quentin Tarantino, a man who hasn't done sci-fi, and his 10th and final movie could be a reboot of Demolition Man, a sci-fi movie. My John Spartan is Brad Pitt. My Simon Phoenix is Jamie Foxx. And it's time we resurrect a career of someone we haven't seen in a while. Someone who's been in the Addams Family. Someone who's been in Black Snake Moan.
Oh, God, really?
Christina Ricci as Lenina Huxley. And Edgar Friendly, the revolutionary, was originally played by, I don't even remember what his name was, but it's now played by Tim Roth. Oh, Edgar Friendly was played by Dennis Leary. That's who it was. And is now being played by...
Yeah, it's Dennis Leary. And who are you casting?
Tim Roth.
Okay. All right. I'll just get into mine, then we'll discuss. So I'll kind of go into my cast. So my rule is I am giving a comedic actor a dramatic role. And to do this, I'm making Demolition Man more dramatic, more of a serious action movie than it's like goofy 90s over the top stuff. And to do that, I will have the director be Ryan Coogler. He can do the fun action, but also it's going to be more serious characters. My John Spartan is going to be played by John David Washington, who you cast earlier in one of your movies too, and I laughed. because we cast the same people. We know talented actors. My Simon Phoenix.
He was the Simon Phoenix.
Yeah. My serious comedic performance is going to be Simon Phoenix, and it's going to be Gerard Carmichael. For those of you who don't know him, he's like the funniest character in Neighbors. He has the Gerard Carmichael show, or had it. He's just one of the funniest dudes out there, and I would love to see him just like thrown into a serious role and play a villain, because I feel like he's capable of doing it. But I want to see him do it. And he's a pure comedian who's never done anything dramatic before, unlike your choice for yours. Lenina Huxley, that is going to be the love interest, obviously, and that's going to be Letitia Wright. She played Shuri in the Black Panther movies and Endgame. The Dr. Rabin Cocteau or whatever, he's kind of the dictator of the future. That's going to be played by Denzel Washington. And here's my pitch. So it's a more serious take on the original Demolition Man, a futuristic police action drama with the tone of like Blade Runner 49 type style. Instead of over-the-top goofy villain portrayed by Wesley Snipes, Gerard Carmichael plays a very evil and serious role as Simon Phoenix. After both being frozen in the year 2025, John Spartan and Simon Phoenix are awakened 60 years in the future. So it's 2085 in my movie. Dr. Raymond is a dictator running the city of San Angeles. He teams up with Simon Phoenix once he's unfrozen in order to take out Spartan, who is being helped by Lenina Huxley, played by Letitia Wright. In the third act of the film, Spartan is revealed to be Dr. Raymond's father. So John David Washington is Denzel Washington's father, but he was frozen, so he's younger in the movie. And after realizing this, Dr. Raymond decides to give himself up to the police, but is killed by Simon Phoenix. Phoenix and Spartan have an epic fight to the death at the end of the movie. So that's my Demolition Man.
All right. Like, yours is fine.
Mine is like a serious action movie. Yours is, again, taking Quentin Tarantino. Instead of doing like a fun Quentin Tarantino movie, you introduce like political stuff. And the last thing I need to see Quentin Tarantino do is have politics in his movies. But like, I feel like he'd have someone that I am not interested in seeing any of his political views, because it would just make me like Tarantino less as a person if I knew what his political views are. I mean, his character is already questionable for, being, best friends with, what's his nuts from, the producer who is in prison now.
Weinstein.
Yeah, Weinstein. So like, his character's already in question. He can just make character pieces in movies that take place and don't actually introduce any like real life things, because none of his movies have any real like politics in them.
But they have should for his last one, just to say he.
But they shouldn't, and because everything that you said is like the wrong politics. Like, oh, it's against PC culture, and it's against defunding the police, and it wasn't against defunding the police. It's not against it, but I feel like that's what people would take from it.
Yeah, that's true. I can understand that aspect.
I feel like your movie would be made for the right political intentions, to be like, okay, like cancel culture has always been a thing, but people just took it too seriously, and they got so scared by it that now they're walking on eggshells. But people would literally take it as, if we don't cancel culture, this is what the world is going to look like. And especially if you have Tarantino, who has never done anything like that before, and throw that into it, I don't think he's going to be the best person to throw.
Yeah, the reason I basically
like, political ideas into it.
The reason I basically picked Quentin Tarantino is I'm like, oh, he's like the best person at reviving a career, and that's what I want. I want Christina Ricci as Lenina Huxley. Her career needs to be revived. And then I like wrote my plot of like, oh, what's like a good like modern day Demolition Man if I were to reboot? And then I never really connected the two of like, oh, this is the plot of Demolition Man, and this is what I have directing it. And I didn't really realize that until I was about midway through reading my pitch.
You're like reading it, and you're like, wait, this isn't a Tarantino movie. Yeah, I would love him to do a sci-fi movie. And honestly, I really like your pick of Christina Ricci, because I feel like she would be perfect for a Tarantino movie. Just but not everything else doesn't really fit. You're not the one you wrote. Not that one.
Yeah, that was my thing of like I feel like my movie would be good, and I feel like my version of Demolition Man would be good, and I feel like Quentin Tarantino would make a good version of Demolition Man. I just don't feel like both versions meld together into one good Demolition Man.
Yeah, I agree. And I kind of just went for Coogler's a good action director, and he's got the right tone I'm looking for. So I like mine, and mine's similar, like plot wise, as the original one, but it's just more serious, and you can take
Yeah.
out some of the stuff like the seashells that you don't need
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
things. But I liked my idea of having the doctor actually have a connection to him. Because okay, so in the
Yeah.
first one, there's this very weird thing where Sandra Bullock
I think there's a
they never say that she's Stallone's daughter, but it's hinted at, and she's the love interest, and they sleep together, and it's very disturbing. So I'm
yeah,
getting
there's
that
definitely
aspect out of there and throwing in the father son thing, and it's just going to be the villain, and he kind of that's what makes him turn at the end. He realizes, oh, you're my dad, and then oh, I haven't seen you my whole life, but it's just because you've been frozen, and he's the one who kind of created the technology, so it's like his fault. So he turns himself in, and then Simon Phoenix kills him. So you got that emotional scene too.
Yeah, I feel like there's an earlier draft that didn't get shot where Sandra Bullock is definitely John Spartan's daughter in that movie. Lenina Huxley.
100%. And then they were like, well, we can't do that because she needs to be the love interest, so we'll reshoot it. And then they never fixed the
Yeah.
other scenes. So it's
Yeah.
like she's both.
Yeah, she's his
Very
daughter that
weird.
he bangs. Yeah.
Yeah. So I needed some type of father dynamic, but I didn't
Right.
want it to be a sexual thing.
All right, we got what, 2 movies left if my math is right? Ferris Bueller's Day
Yeah.
Off and
So
Face
wait,
Off.
did I win that?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
cool.
basically
You
what I
should-
was saying was like my 2 versions were like
They didn't
good, but
mesh.
they didn't combine to make one.
I
good
feel like
movie.
the one you wrote should have been directed by someone else, and the one you cast should have been written differently, like
Yeah.
your pitch. But yeah, I agree. All right, so you lost. You want to go Face Off or Ferris Bueller?
I'm gonna go Face Off.
Okay.
So Face Off, if you haven't seen it, is directed by John Woo, and this is the original version, not my pitch. It was directed by John Woo, and it stars John Travolta as Sean Archer and Nicolas Cage as terrorist Castor Troy. And essentially, the movie opens with Sean Archer as an FBI agent, and Castor Troy tries to shoot Sean Archer. The bullet goes through him and kills Sean Archer's son. Cut to 6 years later. Sean Archer has Castor Troy. He's about to arrest him. Castor Troy is put into a coma, and Castor Troy's brother reveals that there is a bomb somewhere in the city that is set to go off in a few days. And he gets arrested and put in jail, and they have to figure out where this bomb is. And the brother is the only one that knows. So Sean Archer realizes there's only one way to figure out where this bomb is. He takes the face off of Castor Troy, played by Nicolas Cage, and puts it on his face and changes his body to go into prison as Castor Troy to talk to Castor Troy's brother and figure out where this bomb is. And then through chaos, eventually Castor Troy wakes up from his coma and tells the doctor that he needs to put Sean Archer's face on his face. And he goes through a whole surgery to become Sean Archer. He goes to Sean Archer's house and fucks Sean Archer's wife. Sean Archer's running around with Castor Troy, and they're battling each other. It's a game of cat and mouse. Eventually, you find out Castor Troy has a son. Sean Archer kills Castor Troy and adopts his son. And now the guy that lost his son has a son, and it's a full circle complete. Yada, yada, yada. You get it. The movie's terrible. Now, here is my version of Face Off. My director is Denis Villeneuve, director of Blade Runner 2049, director of Sicario, director of Prisoners. My Sean Archer is Ryan Gosling. My Castor Troy, Jake Gyllenhaal. My story is a story of nature versus nurture. Are we the way we are because of how we were raised, or is it because of genetics? During an arrest gone wrong, FBI agent Sean Archer learns that terrorist Castor Troy has hidden a bomb somewhere in the city set to go off in 2 weeks. Unfortunately, Castor Troy is in a coma, and Troy's brother, the only one who knows The bomb's location isn't talking. After seeing a story online about a successful face transplant for a dog bite victim, Sean Archer hatches a plan. He realizes he and Castor Troy have similar heights and build, and if he put Castor Troy's face over his face, no one could tell the difference. A doctor tests their blood types, and they're identical. The operation is a success. Sean spends a few days with a dialect coach to match Castor's voice, because in the original version, he had surgery on his vocal cords. And
he had a microchip. They just
That's
said
what it was.
microchip.
Yeah.
They never explained what that meant.
Yeah, we're trying to make this movie slightly more realistic. So Sean spends a few days with a dialect coach to match Castor's voice. After Sean infiltrates the prison holding Castor's brother, Castor wakes up. The drugs are no longer working. He needs a face or he could die from shock. They give him the only face available, Sean Archer's, which turns out to be a massive mistake. Castor breaks free from the hospital and kills everyone. Castor visits Sean in prison and taunts him. Sean breaks out of prison and it becomes a game of cat and mouse. However, as Castor inhabits Sean's life, he becomes more calm and reserved. As Sean inhabits Castor's life, he becomes wilder and crazier. And now, here's my rule. The rule is I am forcing a twist. The main climax of the movie and my use of the forced twist. The two main characters are forced to take a DNA test to determine who is who, and we learn the greatest rivals in the war versus cops and criminals were switched at birth. Which one is really Sean Archer? Which one is really Castor Troy? And that is my pitch for Face Off.
Okay, all right, I can be down. I'll pitch you mine. You don't have your cast in it, right? You didn't say your cast.
Oh, yeah. My Sean Archer is Ryan Gosling, and my Castor Troy is Jake Gyllenhaal, and it's directed by Denis Villeneuve.
Got it. Okay, I missed that. I forgot. So mine, we're making Face Off, and I don't need it to get any more realistic, but I need it to be more of a badass action movie, so there's no better way to do that than to turn it into a South Korean film. The country of the greatest action movies. So I'll tell you my rule in a second. But my Sean Archer character, played originally by Travolta. I didn't rename any of the characters. I just gave them their original names. But the Sean Archer character is going to be played by Kang Ho Song. So that's the dad from Parasite, and he was in A Taxi Driver, which is another one I highly recommend to anyone who hasn't seen it. My Castor Troy, so the villain, who is also the good guy, is Min-sik Choi. From Old Boy and I Saw the Devil. He has played both the hero in Old Boy and the evil villain in I Saw the Devil, so he can do both roles very well for that one. My Eve Archer, the wife of Sean Archer, originally Joan Allen, is played by Young Ai Lee. She was in Lady Vengeance of the Vengeance trilogy. Pollux Troy, the brother who Sean Archer has to find in prison, that's going to be Cha Tae-sik. He was the man from Nowhere in another great Korean movie. And my director is Chan-wook Park, who did Old Boy as well as The Handmaiden and the Vengeance trilogy as a whole. Great director, done action movies before. I want to see what he can do with Face Off. So here's my rule. I'm throwing the cameos in there from the original actors because that's the only way you can do it with this one. So the Castor Troy in my movie, here's my change. I think it's the most ridiculous thing in Face Off that the police have the idea to switch faces. So in my movie, in my version, Castor Troy realizes, hey, this dude's always going to be coming after me. The only way I can stop him is if I take his face off and we switch faces. He goes undercover at the police department to, destroy everything in the police area, and then puts Sean Archer in prison as himself. So it's the bad guy's idea to switch faces. So he captures Sean Archer, and then when Castor Troy goes in to tell him about the face swapping, the scientist doing it all is none other than Nicolas Cage. And Nicolas Cage still gets to say the famous line of, "You want me to take his face off?" So Nicolas Cage says that.
Is he playing?
He's an American
Castor Troy?
guy.
Oh, but he's not playing Castor Troy.
So he's not Castor Troy.
I thought that was the rule.
No, you have to bring back the cast as a cameo.
Oh, I thought it was like a cameo as an original self. That's what I had written down anyways.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just like, okay,
well,
so
it's fine.
Either
it's
way,
a test
I like the way
really
you did it too. So anyway, so He's the scientist who switches their faces. So then Sean Archer, as Castor Troy, goes to prison, and it's the weird magnetic prison, and the police or the warden of that jail is played by none other than John Travolta. So you have both the original Face Off people in it, and then instead of the whole weird DNA testing and trying to get all that down, it's just Sean Archer needs to escape prison and then prove to people that he is himself, because no one knows it except for the bad guys. The police, there's no record of it. So I felt like that worked better for the plot than have it be the bad guys switching their faces, because it was always very stupid that it was the other way around. Felt like there were other ways you could have done it. So I wanted to just switch that, but everything else pretty much the same. You have all the fun action scenes, and you give it a better director and more capable actors.
Is there a better director than Denis Villeneuve?
Yeah. But he's also a good director. But I don't want to, again, it's another director that, like, I do not have any interest in seeing his version of Face Off. Give him other movies to do.
Yeah, other movies that are going to bomb at the box office, like Blade Runner 2049 and Dune, that's going to eat a pile of shit. Even though the movie could be like the greatest movie of all time.
Dune is going to be great, and I don't care about him making money. Like, I don't need him to just be like, see, this is the problem with Hollywood. They would be like, hey, you made Dune, that didn't make money. You made Blade Runner 2049, even though both of these are like amazing films, neither of them made money. So now we're just going to make you do Face Off. Like, I feel like that's the only way he'd ever do it.
I want to see him do Face Off with Jake Gyllenhaal and Ryan Gosling.
But I feel like the only way to improve the original crazy Face Off is to make it like a more of an action movie. And yours, while it would make it more of a serious movie, I don't need a serious movie where they just cut the edge of someone's face and just take it off. Like there's no other muscle connecting your face. So that's my thing. Oh, and the other thing here, your weird DNA test thing might explain it, but it seems very boring. The blood types thing in the original movie, they did not have the same blood type. So they switched bodies, and it really doesn't make any sense that they switched faces because they don't have the same blood type. But the reason they find out, because Joan Allen's character is a doctor, they find out the blood or that Sean Archer is Nick Cage, or it's so confusing talking about this movie. But the reason they discover basically that their faces were switched is because they have different blood types, and Joan Allen tests it. So in your movie, you give them the same blood type, which makes sense for the surgery, but less sense
because that's the thing. My twist
it.
is they're stuck in each other's bodies, and they're stuck because everyone will forever believe that Sean Archer is Castor Troy and Castor Troy is Sean Archer, and only them two will ever know.
But who does the DNA test?
The hospital. I don't know. DNA test.
So I don't get the twist.
So basically, we find out there's a flashback. They were accidentally switched at birth.
And okay, they were switched at birth, but then they're still different people, and then they switch faces.
Yeah.
Right? When they're older. Yeah. Not like when they're babies.
Yeah, they switch faces when they're older. So the DNA test that they're comparing it to was from like when they were born.
Yeah, well, like what does that mean?
What do you mean?
Like if we were switched at birth, and I was Joe and you were Johnny, we just live our same lives. So it wouldn't really matter at the end. Like if it was just a twist of, they were switched at birth, it's not much of a twist. Even if we switched faces, it would still just be like the same as if they weren't switched at birth. I think it would be here. I'll fix your twist. At the end of the movie, Castor Troy, they switch back faces or whatever they think they do. I don't even know. They put Castor Troy away, or he dies, and then Sean Archer goes back to his wife. But then it's revealed that, like cut back to what happens. And he is actually still Castor Troy. Like he's the villain and he survived. I feel like that's a better twist.
Yeah, but my twist is better because my twist is...
Your twist doesn't mean anything. It's not a real twist. There's nothing twisty about it.
Because it means that they're stuck in their bodies because no one believes that they're the person that they are because they're comparing it to DNA from right when they were born, but they were switched at birth.
But what does that mean for their personalities or characters?
That they're stuck in the wrong body.
Because they were switched at birth?
Or they're stuck in the wrong face, yeah. Because they
so the DNA test reveals
The
What?
TNS test reveals that they're both crazy people and their faces were never switched, even though we as an audience know that the faces were switched.
Wait, so your twist is they don't actually take their faces off? So you're not going to show the faces getting taken off?
No, their faces don't get taken. Their faces don't get put back.
Okay, I get that. I don't know. Your twist is all. I don't get it. Maybe someone can explain this better than me, but I don't understand how that's a twist. They just didn't switch back faces.
Yeah, because their DNA test proved that. I don't know.
What does the DNA test have to do with anything?
I don't know. I tried to make a twist and I couldn't come up with a twist for any of these movies, and this was the only one I had left I couldn't come up with anything for.
See, my twist was so much better than your twist. I should get my Spaceballs point back.
No.
Okay,
Fine.
here's a new twist. Okay, at the beginning of the movie, Sean Archer's kid is killed, right?
Yeah.
And then Nicolas Cage has a kid, and then at the end of the movie, John Travolta's character just basically takes Nicolas Cage's son, and it's just like, this is our kid now. He's replaced our dead son. That's kind of how the end of Face Off works.
Yeah.
My movie would end with that same thing happening, but then it cuts to the dad, Sean Archer, because he's a crazy dude, digging up his kid's grave. And then you realize that they're going to switch the faces of the kid. So he has his old son back.
All right, you can get. All right.
What's our scores right now, by the way?
6-3 if you win this one.
Okay. All right. I think I should win this one because this is the movie that I'd want to see the most out of any of these. I want to see like a South Korean action movie that has some weird sci-fi in it. Because, spoiler alert, I'm going to win Ferris Bueller's Day Off too. So we might as well just give me all the points.
All right.
All right. You want to go first or second?
You're so confident in Ferris Bueller. You can go first. You can describe Ferris Bueller for the audience at home. I should probably talk into the mic. You should describe Ferris Bueller for the audience at home.
So Ferris Bueller's Day Off, for those who've never seen it, if there is anyone who hasn't, Ferris Bueller is this young, cocky kid. He basically plays hooky from school, and with his best friend Cameron and his girlfriend Sloane, they skip school and they spend the day out in Chicago, going to a ballpark, or a Cubs game, I think, and then going and singing in a parade and stealing the dad's car, which is explained in the movie that the dad loves his car more than he loves his own son. So they steal the car, and then they decide, hey, we'll put it in reverse, and it'll take all the miles off of it, which that doesn't work. And then the car flies through the garage and just is destroyed. And that's kind of like one of the main things in the movie. But it's basically just three kids skipping school, and you have not only is Ferris Bueller's sister trying to catch him at the act, you have Ed Rooney, who is one of the teachers who doesn't like Ferris. He is also trying to catch Ferris at it, right? I don't even know. Because I thought it was the principal in Breakfast Club, but I don't think it's the real principal. It's just a teacher. So either way, so he's either the principal or a teacher. He's trying to catch Ferris at it. Might be the principal. But that's kind of the movie. He doesn't want to be seen, and they're skipping school. That's really it. So in my version of it, I figured, you know what's ripe for a horror remake? Ferris Bueller's Day Off, because I'm gonna give it a realistic ending. So Ferris, he's a fun-loving high schooler who convinces his buddy Cameron to play hooky with him and his girlfriend. Ferris convinces Cameron to let them take out his dad's car, even though his father loves that car more than anything. They have a fun day out on the town, despite Ed Rooney trying to catch Ferris. They decide to put the car in reverse to put the miles back to normal on Mr. Fry's car. This does not work, and the car ends up getting smashed through the back of the garage, falls off a hill, and is destroyed. Cameron, Ferris, and Sloane turn around to see Morris Fry, the father of Cameron, staring at them in shock. Ferris walks up to him, trying to de-escalate the situation. Mr. Fry takes out a knife and stabs Ferris to death. Sloane and Cameron run to the house and must fight for their survival against Cameron's father's murderous rampage. Ed Rooney tracks him down, but he sees Ferris's dead body, so he tries to help Cameron and Sloane escape. So that's my movie. It's them trapped in a house. You have the murderous father. You have Ed Rooney. You have the twist of actually trying to help him out because he realizes that they're in danger. I'll give you my cast too. My Ferris Bueller. I need someone young and looks like he's in high school and can also be charismatic. So that's going to be Tom Holland. My Cameron Fry is going to be Skylar Gasondo. I'm going to say Gacindo. He's the rich kid in Booksmart for anyone who's seen Booksmart. He's also in like The Amazing Spider-Man, a couple movies. Sloane Peterson is going to be played by Molly Gordon, who's also in Booksmart and Good Boys. She's the other friend in Good Boys. Ed Rooney is going to be played by Alan Tudyk. I feel like he's a good look for that. Morris Fry, I want someone who I could just see being kind of an intimidating presence and hasn't had much to do. So I've cast Sean William Scott, mainly because he's just the age of the person I'm looking for, and I like him as an actor. My director is Adam Wingard, who did The Guest and You're Next, both like good coming at you trying to kill you movies, as well as VHS. And he's actually remaking an American version of I Saw the Devil, which I saw when I was looking at his IMDb, which is insane to me. But that's my director. So you have Ferris Bueller. You have about the first half of the movie is them fun loving, skipping school, and the second half is a fight to survive horror movie.
All right, for my version of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, for those who aren't keeping track at home, we're headed to the Oscars. I made a super Oscar baity Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I'll just start with my director and cast. My director, Damien Chazelle. He directed La La Land, directed Whiplash, directed First Man. My Ferris Bueller is Timothée Chalamet, who he was the son in Interstellar, and he played the love interest guy that everyone loves in the new Little Women. My Cameron Fry is Lucas Hedges. He was in mid-90s. He was in what was that Shia LaBeouf movie that you didn't like? That just came out.
What?
Oh crap! He was Lucas Hedges. He was the Shia LaBeouf movie.
Well, he was in that bad Casey Affleck movie that got all those nominations. He was good in that, but that movie sucked.
Oh yeah. Just Google Lucas.
Manchester by the Sea.
Manchester
and Three Billboards. He was in.
And Three Billboards.
He's in all the movies I do not like.
Yeah.
Oh, Honey Boy. I didn't dislike Honey Boy. I just expected more.
So my Sloane Peterson is Yara Shahidi, who's because there aren't a whole lot of because I wanted more diversity in my cast. It's an Oscar cast, but there's not a lot of young Black women that have been nominated for Oscars. She's in Mixed-ish, and I think she was in Blackish. She's playing Ferris Bueller's girlfriend, Sloane. And Ferris's sister, Jeannie, is going to be played by Saoirse Ronan, who's basically going to be nominated for an Oscar every year until she dies. And my Grace, who's Ed Rooney's secretary, who's super peppy and everything, is going to be played by Meryl Streep. And my Ed Rooney is going to be played by none other than J.K. Simmons.
Okay, I like that.
And this is my cast. The teen comedy is now retold as a serious drama about a teen who fakes sick from school to help his friend learn the self-confidence to stand up to his abusive father as they travel around Chicago. We also have Sloane dealing with her racial identity, being a Black girl who is raised by a rich white couple. Jeannie, Ferris's sister, catches her brother skipping school, but since she's an extreme drug addict, no one believes her. Ed Rooney, an overbearing teacher who only wants the best for Ferris, spends the day trying to get Ferris back to school so he doesn't mess with his Harvard scholarship. In the third act of the movie, Jeannie decides to give up drugs after meeting an older drug addict while she is in the police station with her mother. After meeting with a group of activists during their adventures, Sloane decides to give the money she was going to spend on spring break to the activist cause. Cameron intentionally trashes his father's Ferrari when they can't wind the miles down after taking it for a joyride. And then the next day at school, Ferris apologizes to Ed Rooney for not being more active in school, and Mr. Rooney apologizes to Ferris for being too hard on him and says kids should be allowed to have fun. And that is my pitch for Oscar Beatty, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It's basically Crash, but Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And Crash wasn't good, but it won.
That sounds awful. That sounds so awful.
And that's exactly what Oscar Beatty movies are. Fucking terrible. Terrible, terrible garbage.
No, you just all you have to do to be Oscar Beatty is either cast Meryl Streep or just
Which
have
I
a bunch
did.
of nominations. Yeah, exactly. So you did do that. Um, I mean, it is Oscar Beatty. I can't argue
I
against
just tried to
your.
put every Oscar Beatty trope I could find in slant. I almost changed it to LA just to have that much more Oscar Beattiness.
So, is there any comedy in it, or is it like
No,
a
it's 100% a drama now.
okay? I don't know. Sounds weird. I mean, you nailed the rule, but I wouldn't see your movie, so it's tough. What do you think of mine? My horror movie.
Your horror movie isn't a Ferris Bueller's Day Off reboot. It's a like sequel.
Well, we had to make it a horror movie. I mean, it's a reboot, but it's realistic. It's a realistic reboot of what the dad would do if he actually came home and saw the car smashed.
yours
He
is
just
like
decides to murder all of them.
yeah, yours is like a sequel and not like a reboot. Yours doesn't like have any of the same plot as the original. It's just like
Well,
here's
you
what will happen
basically
after.
you can tell the same plot of the original one in like a half hour, 30, like an hour basically, and just be like, oh yeah, they go out and have fun. So it's that, but then instead of like you have a different ending and it just turns into a horror movie. So that's why I made it an actual horror movie. I feel like to make something a horror movie and to do a lot of our other rules that we did, we definitely have to change plots of things. So I felt like the only way I could do that is be like, hey, what happens if the abusive dad comes home and sees the car smashed and then decides to just murder the shit out of them?
Yeah, see, but that's the thing is your movie might be better, but your movie is not Ferris Bueller's Day Off horror version. Your movie is what if there was a sequel to Ferris Bueller's Day Off and that was a horror version? Where mine is let's
No,
take
it's
Ferris Bueller's Day Off and
literally
make it Oscars.
yours is not Ferris Bueller's Day Off
Yeah, it is
because it's basically Crash for some reason. Which if you could pick two movies that like were the most different, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and Crash, they have nothing in common at all, except they're both cars that crash a little bit in it. That's really it.
I found their commonalities.
I don't know. When I made an Oscar Beatty movie, I made a movie that I wanted to see, and you made a movie that no one wants to see.
Ferris wants to see my movie.
No, who? Ferris Bueller?
Yeah.
He's not even a real person. Well, he doesn't want to see it. But I won anyway, so I don't even care. You can have this point if you want it, but I like mine. I like mine. Mine is more realistic for a Ferris Bueller movie. The
record stands. I won 6, or you won 6-4.
Oh yeah, I did.
All right.
I give full credit to my amazing pitch for A Christmas Carol. All right, with DMX.
Johnny officially wins our tester episode 6-4. So I'll say if you have any comments or anything you want to say, any advice, tweet at us, text us, DM us, or comment below. But other than that, Johnny officially wins. So
hell yeah, I do.
Anything else you got to say, Johnny, before we sign off?
Just that anyone who actually listens to this full thing, thank you for listening. I'm sure we'll basically just kind of send this out as a tester for anyone who wants to listen and friends and family and whatever else. So if you're listening, thank you. And this was fun to do. Hopefully we do more with this, and I look forward to winning every week.
Yeah, you're not gonna win next week, so I'm gonna actually like do better in my pitches. All my pitches I wrote last night because Johnny's like, yeah, I did more than just a cast. I have pitches and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I should probably write pitches then.
Well, because like making one a horror movie, I was like, why didn't it change the entire plot to make these things horror movies? So then I was just like, well, now I need to write pitches. So yeah, some of them require more work than others. I thought for sure too, because like I had pitches written out, and then I was like, I don't think I did enough with these. And then I texted you and I was like, oh yeah, I got like pitches. And you're like, I didn't do pitches. I'm like, oh, all right. Maybe I did more than Joe.
Yeah, I'll definitely have pitches next time. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time.